You've got one king, three daughters, and one truly terrible decision that brings it all crashing down. We are diving deep into one of Shakespeare's most powerful and, let's be honest, devastating tragedies, King Lear. We're going to break down exactly how a single, fatal mistake can completely unravel an entire kingdom. All right, so here's the scene. You have King Lear. He's powerful, he's respected, but he's getting old, and he's decided, you know what? I'm done. He's ready to retire, to hand over the heavy burden of ruling and split his kingdom among his three daughters. All he wants is to live out his golden years without any stress. Sounds simple enough, right?
Well, not quite. See, there's a catch. He's not just going to divide the kingdom equally. No, he's going to give the biggest and best piece to the daughter who can convince him that she loves him the most. It seems like such a simple test, but the answers to this one question, they're going to set off a catastrophe of, well, truly epic proportions.
And that brings us right to our first section, the king's single, fatal mistake. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some family argument. This is a profound error in judgment that literally lights the fuse for all the tragedy that's about to unfold. So, this moment immediately shows us one of the play's huge themes, appearance versus reality. His two eldest daughters, Goneril and Regan, they just lay it on thick. I mean, they unload all this flowery, over-the-top language about how their love is bigger than words can describe. But his youngest daughter, Cordelia, the one who truly loves him, she finds herself speechless. She says she has nothing to say because her love is real, it's not some performance. And boom, here's the disaster. Lear, completely blinded by his own pride and his ego, he hears flattery and thinks it's love, he hears honesty and thinks it's an insult, he flies into an absolute rage, disowns Cordelia on the spot, and then makes the catastrophic mistake of handing his entire kingdom over to the two daughters who were just faking it. As you can imagine, this decision backfires almost immediately. The second Lear gives up his power, his whole world just starts to crumble with terrifying speed. His authority disappears overnight, and right along with it, so does his sanity.
The betrayal is just so systematic and so brutal. First, Goneril complains that his 100 knights are too loud and tells him he has to get rid of them. So Lear, shocked, goes to his other daughter, Regan, expecting sympathy. But what does he get? She's even colder, and she teams up with her sister against him. Within days, the once mighty king is stripped of every last shred of his dignity and is literally thrown out of his own kingdom.
Lear's shock and pain are just visceral. You can feel it. He cannot believe the cruelty of his own children, and this famous line just perfectly captures that raw, agonizing pain of a parent who feels completely betrayed by the very people he gave everything to.
So this betrayal literally drives him out into the wilderness, and into one of Shakespeare's most famous scenes. Lear, with only his fool to keep him company, stumbles into a raging, violent storm. But this isn't just some bad weather. You know, the storm is a powerful, perfect metaphor for the absolute chaos that's now raging inside his mind. As the sky rages, so does he. His sanity finally shatters under the weight of it all.
But believe it or not, Lear's story isn't the only tragedy unfolding. Shakespeare, like the genius he is, weaves in a parallel plot that perfectly mirrors and even amplifies what's happening to Lear. It's about another father whose own blindness leads to his complete ruin.
And when you put them side by side, the parallels are just uncanny. You've got the Earl of Gloucester, who, just like Lear, completely misjudges his own children. He falls for the lies of his scheming, illegitimate son Edmund, and he banishes his loyal and honest son Edgar. And both fathers suffer horribly for it. Lear's pain is mental. He descends into madness. Gloucester's pain becomes brutally physical. He's literally blinded.
And this is where that theme of blindness that's been running through the play becomes crystal clear. Lear is metaphorically blind from the very first scene, right? He can't see who truly loves him. Gloucester's punishment, having his eyes gouged out, makes that theme horribly, brutally literal. It shows us that seeing with your eyes means absolutely nothing if you can't see the truth in your heart.
Okay, so now we're heading into the final act, the tragic conclusion. And just when you think things absolutely cannot get any worse, a tiny glimmer of hope appears. But this is a tragedy, and in a true tragedy, that hope often shows up just to make the final fall that much more painful.
Cordelia is back. The honest daughter that Lear banished has returned. She's now the Queen of France, and she's brought an entire army to rescue her father and restore some kind of justice to the kingdom. And for a brief, beautiful moment, you think, okay, maybe there's a chance for forgiveness, for things to be set right. But it's not to be. In one of the most famously brutal twists in all of literature, her army loses the battle, and in the final act, Cordelia is executed. Just like that, the one symbol of truth and goodness in the entire play is just gone.
And that is the final, crushing blow for Lear. He enters, carrying Cordelia's body. His sanity has briefly returned, but only so he can be faced with this unbearable, impossible reality. The grief is just too much. It's more than any human can endure. And he dies, right there, of a broken heart.
So after all of that darkness, all that suffering, what do we take away from it? I mean, why are we still so obsessed with this 400-year-old play? Well, let's break down some of the key ideas that make King Lear absolutely timeless.
First off, there's this idea of the tragic hero. A tragic hero isn't just a victim that bad things happen to. No, they're a person of high status, a king, who is mostly a good person, but they have one major flaw. And it's that fatal flaw that directly causes their own suffering and their downfall. Lear is the textbook example. And that fatal flaw, it's got a fancy Greek name, hamartia. For King Lear, his hamartia is this toxic cocktail of pride, vanity, and just a profound, stunning lack of judgment. That's the flaw that makes him demand that love test in the first place, and it's what blinds him to the truth, kicking this whole tragedy into motion.
And this story is just packed with these huge, powerful themes that we still wrestle with today. It digs into blindness versus insight, that razor-thin line between sanity and madness, and of course, that constant battle between how things seem and how they really are. But really, at its very core, it's a brutal, unflinching look at the devastating consequences of family betrayal.
So I'll leave you with this to chew on. At the end of the day, was King Lear's downfall really about losing his crown and his power? Or was it all about his much more personal, human failure to see the truth, even when it was standing right in front of him? It's that question, I think, that makes this play one of the most profound and enduring stories ever written.